Hi. So I've just been into town where I live and had a blood test. Ta-da! And I'm just celebrating the fact that as I sat down to have the test taken, just having something checked out, the person taking the test asked a few questions and then said, "Do you faint when having a blood test?" And I immediately said, "No, full stop." And then I noticed a whole bunch of thinking coming in, tempted to tell the story of how I used to feel faint when having a blood test. I used to have to lie down when having a needle of any kind, particularly blood tests, take place. And it was on my record, probably still says on my record, that I tend to feel faint and stuff. So I was so tempted to tell that story, but I didn't. And I noticed that it felt like a very emphatic no this time. And so then he did what he did, got the pinprick occurred. I felt the little pinprick, totally fine, and it was over in a flash. And so I also, before that taking place, due to my history, I just remembered what I've come to realize is that, my experience of a blood test is an internal creation. It's not coming from the prick in the arm. Anything beyond the prick in the arm that I'm experiencing is coming from that. Even my experience of the prick of the arm, it's happening in me, and I can put a full stop after that experience and don't have to buy into any past stories. I don't need to let me get into a thought storm about this. I can just have that experience, be with it, and before you know it, it's over. So I'm quite chuffed that I was an emphatic no. Previous times I've been pretty good with this, but actually told my story. Well, in the past I've been this, but I'm better now. But this time it was a straight no. So yeah, it just gets me wondering, like, what other stories are we telling what am I telling that are getting in the way of creating what I want, what we want, what you want? What are those stories that just aren't true, or just we could put a full stop in and not have to get into that snowball or snow globe or train of thought, however you want to think it? Just have the experience and then take the next step. So that's my thought for the day on that. And in fact, actually, while I'm here, another story is apparent, which I'll share with you. Look, this is where I'm sitting. I'm in a favourite spot that's the closest to our home that I used to walk with our wonderful dog Bosco, who passed away sadly over a year ago, and walked here many times, like I have in many of the wonderful parks near me, and great memories. But once Bosco passed away, I realised I had this story in my mind that, well, that's it then. You can't go walking to the park on your own. You can't go walking around the graveyard on your own. It's a bit weird, isn't it? What's that all about? So it did stop me for a while, just going out and having a walk. Of course, I didn't have the excuse for the dog, so I had to decide if I wanted to just go and do it. But there was definitely a story that's a bit strange going for a walk in these places without my dog, where I never used to walk before the dog, particularly. Did loads with the dog, and then thinking that I can't. But of course, that's a story. That story's made up. That story is not true. So here I am sitting in a favourite place, having had a little walk around it on the way home. And again, gets me thinking, for me, and I wonder for you all, what stories are holding you back from taking the next step? What stories are holding back from doing what you'd love to do? What stories are you replaying that, when you look more closely, just aren't true? And if you've got any stories that you're holding you back, come and have a chat. Drop me a message and we'll have a conversation about it. We can both put the spotlight on those stories and see what's true and what's not true. Because it seems to me, as humans, we're way more optimized to get on with what we want to do when we're operating from solid ground, and that means basically not subscribing to stories that aren't true, and takes a lot off the mind as well. So we don't have to keep having those stories. We can put a full stop in it and let them drift on by, even if they keep popping up. And it really helps when we see that they're not true. So get in touch, or love to know some of your stories below if you're happy to share. Take care. Bye.